Shock the monkey. Welcome back to Tullahoma Sports Plus. Good to have you along on a Monday. Good to have you along. If you are watching the replay of this on LightTUBe Channel 23, we welcome in Tullahoma Cross Country head coach Chris Clemens. And Coach, first of all, thanks for
thank you for
coming in here.
Appreciate it.
Let's talk about your team a little bit.
Okay.
I know you ran Saturday and you're running next Saturday, so talk about those
things. We have kind of got our schedule pretty set where we'll run each Saturday. We've been doing that for almost a month, and that'll run us all the way into the second week of October. So the kids have gotten into somewhat of a routine, and I kind of like to keep it that way. They had a invitational at Sharp Springs this last weekend. I'm not really sure how many teams actually ran. I know our team placed fourth overall. We had 3 medalists, Peter Hills, Hunter Lundgren, and Jacob Anders for our boys, and Juliana Dykes for our girls placed 8th. So we had a good showing there. And we had a really good time as far as Peter. He broke a barrier for him that he's been wanting to break for some time. He's into the 17-minute range, the high 17s, and so where he's hitting about the right time as far as where he needs to be heading into October, where things really get important for us as a team.
Now this Saturday you'll be down in Alabama.
This Saturday we're actually going to be in Henry Horton, up at Henry Horton State Park, so we will. It's another invitational meet, give our kids another chance to compete. Like I said earlier, we got some kids. It's their first year out, and so they're every chance they get a chance to compete, it's a plus for us. And then 2 weeks from this last Saturday, the 6th, we'll be down in Jesse Owens, down in Alabama, for our varsity runners.
And then you get into your district and regional meets.
District and regional, and then then it's the season's is flying by on us. And I gave Eric Nelius this last weekend off. I thought he needed that little extra time to rejuvenate his batteries and get away from the race type mode. And I think that's done him a world of good, and we're going to see even bigger and better things from him.
You definitely don't want dead legs in October,
No,
do you?
exactly right. That's exactly right.
Coach, we appreciate the update on the team, certainly. But there's another reason why we've got you in here tonight, and let's kind of start out with the ending, and then we'll go back to the beginning. You're going to get to do. You're not only a long distance running coach. You're a long distance runner.
That's exactly right.
And you've got an opportunity to do something that every long distance runner in the world dreams of doing. Tell us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Every person who does a distance run has dreams about competing and participating in the Boston Marathon, held every April. And I received notice yesterday that I've been accepted to run the 2013 117th running of the Boston Marathon, and I'm just as excited as can be. They made the qualifications even more stringent for 2013, and when they did that, I had almost thought that my chances of competing at that race had gone by, but I was able to pull a really good race last February on a qualifying course in Birmingham, the Mercedes Marathon, and I was able to get under that threshold for the time that they allowed, and so I'm just as pleased as can be.
So running in the Boston Marathon, you don't just like send them a letter saying I'd really like to run.
No, you used to be able to do that. You used to be able to, but now it's there's hundreds of thousands of people who attempt to qualify for it. And then there's thousands of people that try to register, and they go through the list of the people who have the qualifying times, and they get to pick and choose who they want. Other than the Olympics, I'm trying to think as far as a running event that you actually have to qualify for. So many other running events, you just send in your entry money and you're in.
They'll just most places will just take as many people as they can get.
That's exactly right. Exactly.
Well, what are the dates for? What is the date?
The date is it's always on Patriot Day, and it's actually on Tax Day this year, April 15th. So
you can run mad.
I'll be in Boston, exactly. There'll probably be some people doing that.
Yeah, tea party, tea party time.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Do people around here, do you know other people around here that have run in the Boston Marathon?
I think there are a few. I know in the past, I know that there has been some in the area. I don't think there's that many. For one, it's the distance to get there, and another, it's that time that you have to hit in order to even try to apply for it.
I would think Robin Hines, if anybody from around here, would probably
Yeah.
be the one person that is running that. I don't know that, but I know Robin is
Yeah.
well known for his running. And
Oh, yeah. I would imagine. I would imagine so.
And that is a huge honor, and we congratulate you for
Thank you.
that. That's great. That's going to be a big story locally. But that's really not all of it, Chris. Tell us, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story.
There is quite a story, and I had to first acknowledge that my story, although what I've been able to do, there's a lot of people that have a lot of hardships and things and challenges that they face on a daily basis, and so I'm not going to sit here and say that what I have done or what I have overcome is more than exceptional than what some people have done. It's just what I have chosen to do and what I've been able to do. When I was 19 years old, I was working in a sawmill, and I was, it's a area that shoots a bunch of wood shavings and things. It sends to a big bin, and sometimes it gets stuck and you have to get up there and kind of root around in it. And so one morning I was up there, it was actually July 23rd, 1985 to be exact. I was up there rooting around trying to get it going, and I fell in and was buried by wood shavings. And so I suffered anoxia, which is oxygen deprivation to my brain. And the person I was with, luckily I was with someone that day, and he was able to call for help. He could not pull me out. The weight was too great. And I was evac to a local hospital where I was in ICU. And I was put, of course, they had to immediately extract the wood shavings from my lungs. And with the oxygen deprivation to my brain, there was some injury. They would call it brain injury. It wasn't damage because it wasn't permanent. It was an injury. As a result of that, I lost all gross motor skills, which included walking, and fine motor skills, where I had to learn how to write. I had to learn how to feed myself, dress myself, tie my shoes, and all of those things all over again. When you're 19 years old and you think you're bulletproof and invincible, it's something that's a very humbling experience to know what you're supposed to be able to do, but your brain isn't able to fire those synapses to your muscles to get them to do it.
I'm sure you had a lot of help.
I did.
As you relearned to walk.
I did. Yeah, I went through an extensive occupational and physical therapy at the hospital. It was after my freshman year in college, so I was obviously out of college for a year for intense therapy and things of that nature. A lot of people will look at me today and said, "Yeah, that must not have been that bad because you're pretty fit, you're pretty healthy," and that's exactly what my goal was that unless I was to share it with anybody, no one would be able to tell that something that catastrophic had happened to me. And so
were you a runner before then?
I was a runner. I played in high school. I played football, wrestled, and ran track, and then I did some running in college. But it was fortunate for me that I was as young as I was, and was as healthy as I was, because my lungs didn't have that damage that can happen over years, and I still had youth on my side. And so, and I would sit there and people would say, "Well, it couldn't have been that bad." I was like, "You weren't there in my house when my dad was carrying me to the dinner table or carrying me to the bathroom and washing me." And being a 19-year-old male, right out of, freshman year of college, that stuff is really, really hard to swallow and to deal with, because there's a lot of pride involved.
Where did this happen?
It was I'm from Missouri, and it was in a little local sawmill just across the river in Illinois, and I'd done it. I baled hay and worked at this sawmill for the summer, and there was a lot of times in the summer when I'd go to that sawmill by myself and do the work on my own. Just so happened that day a friend of mine was right there, and he was if he wasn't there, I would have been, I wouldn't be here.
So how long before you took the first step on your own?
It was kind of interesting. It happened in that summer, and about 2 weeks after that, I was making 3 weeks after that, I was making amazing comebacks. I mean, they said I was walking and, and getting around, and then my brain or something wasn't ready for that much, and it sent me crashing again. So I was back in the hospital, back to learning how to walk over again and do all those things. If it happened in July, I was walking on my own October, early October. So 2 or 3 months of intense therapy. And then I guess when I got out of that and went ahead and finished college and got my degree and went into to working in business. And I guess when I was about 30 years old, I said, I'm going to get back into running. I enjoyed it in high school and college. I'm going to see what I can do. And so I said, well, I'm going to start training for a marathon. And this is when I was 30. So I went up and said, well, let's go to a little neighborhood where it's quiet and flat. I ran about a quarter mile, and I had to stop and walk.
See, Benz, I told you could do it.
But I went back the next day, and I kept going back until I was able to, to sustain, I just kept on gradually building up my endurance and kept on at it. And my first marathon I ran in 1996. It was a St. Louis marathon, and I ran it in 5 hours and 2 minutes. The longest I'd ever run up to that point was like 13 miles. And so at 13-mile mark of the race, my legs were like, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm done. So it was a walk, jog, shuffle from there on. But I stuck with it. And in addition to my running marathons, I've completed 3 half Ironman triathlons.
Now tell us what that is.
Half Ironman it's swim, bike, run combination. It's a 1.2 mile swim, 56 mile bike, and a 13.1 mile run consecutively. And I've done 3 of those. And then in 2009, I was fortunate enough to complete a full Ironman out in Wilmington, North Carolina, Beaches to Battleship. So full Ironman, you're doubling all of that.
So you're riding a bike over 100 miles, swimming.
It was a 2.4 mile open water swim in the Atlantic. There was a little inlet bay in the Atlantic that they held it. And then you got out of the water and you biked 112 miles. And then you got off your bike and ran 26.2. And there's a number of people here in Tullahoma that have done that and have done numerous ones. But,
and I think they have some of those around here. I know they used to have one like out at AEDC.
Yeah,
and
they've got those. Yeah, they do have those sprints, the shorter distance ones, and that was one of my first real, triathlon was the Mach 10, that shorter distance, and I just got a bug and said, I was put back on this earth to do something, and I want to make the most of it.
I know. They have several marathons right around this area. Of course, I'm including Nashville and Chattanooga.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But there's one in Wartrace. Isn't that one of the longer
marathons?
Yes,
that's actually an ultra marathon, and I've done that. I've done 2 ultra marathons. An ultra marathon is any distance greater than 26.2, and the one that Ben's is referring to is the Strolling Gym, and that's a 41-mile race out in Wartrace, and I did that a couple years back.
And I want to ask you, I read something this past week about the Warrior Dash they had over at Bonnaroo. Now, that's something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Have you ever participated in one of those? Or
I've
do
never.
you plan on doing that in the future? Or?
I've never participated in it. I'd love to go and watch it. It looks like it's just a wild ride and a great amount of fun to
crawl through mud
and going through fire pits
yeah.
and all that stuff. It's just it looks like it's a great time. So anytime people
that just doesn't sound like a great time to me.
anytime people can get out and challenge themselves and put themselves in a little bit of maybe an uncomfortable situation and find out that there's more to them than what they're initially giving themselves credit for, then I'm all for that.
Well, Chris, that's an awesome story.
Oh, thank you.
We
Thank you
appreciate
very
you
much.
coming.